Islam is often described as a very simple thing, a very simple religion. And yet we find that sometimes the simplest things, while certainly having a lot of elegance, are also sometimes the most difficult and sometimes elusive things to pin down. And what I mean by that is, one of the simple things about Islam is that it is giving good news. Matter of fact, the Quran often talks about that it is al-Bashr, right, or at-Tabshir, depending on different narrations in the pronunciation. That, for instance, in the 42nd chapter, Allah says, ذَلِكَ الَّذِي يُبَشِّرُ اللَّهُ عِبَادَهُ, or ذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَبْشِرُ اللَّهُ عِبَادَهُ. That is God, who is the one who gives good news to his ibad, to his worshippers, to his believers. And I think one of the lost arts amongst us is enjoying being Muslim, giving each other good news. We often turn on the news and are despondent by the news and are troubled by the news, and then also in a strange way we look to the news for confirmation and affirmation of who we are, which we almost very seldom seem to find. And then this can trigger a reaction. And in the past, I have been guilty of this, a time or two myself, where we see the actions of other Muslims. And this isn't saying that some people's actions aren't worthy of criticism. But how we even vocalize that criticism, I think, is important. And that sometimes we can become a little indulgent in the criticizing of certain individuals or institutions. And we spend very little effort into genuinely enjoying being Muslim, taking a real pleasure from the truth being the truth. One of the simple truths of Islam is La ilaha illallah. There is no other creator, God. There is nobody else in ultimate control. There's no fashioner of reality except for Allah. What we say in Arabic, Allah. What we could say perhaps in English is God. And I do believe that so-called believers spend an inordinate amount of time worrying so much about non-believers, non-Muslims, this and that, or Muslims who have, perhaps are, deviant, gone astray, made a mistake, whatever that it is, and that not enough of our time and our emotional capital is invested in just simply enjoying being who we are. And again, to go back in the beginning, right, that is a simple thing, but simplest things are often the most elusive and the most difficult to do. And I'll leave this little tidbit for you to consider, and that is, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said in a narration that for the mu'min, for the believer that revives something of his sunnah that has since died and kind of gone away, right? There is a tremendous reward, and I'm paraphrasing here for sake of time, but the idea is that the Prophet ﷺ was al-Bashir. He was the one who gave good news, because the ultimate good news is if you believe, right? If you believe in Islam, if you hold these truths to be of value, then what do you get, right? ترى الظالمون مشفقون منها مما كسبوا, right, that وهو واقع به, right, and that you will see wrongdoers, you will see oppressors, right, they'll be gnashing their fingernails, so to speak, over what they have done, and the result of evil that they did, they're going to get it. So we don't really have to worry about over policing, because nobody's going to get away with anything. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فِي رَوْضَاتِ الْجَنَّاتِ. Those who believe and do good deeds, they will be in the gardens, right? They will be in في روضات الجنات. They will be in the beautiful gardens of paradise. لَهُمْ مَا يَشَاءُونَ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. They're going to have whatever they want with their Lord. So it's good for us to have a measure of temporality, so to speak, of realizing that whatever evil happens in this life, it is literally being written down just as the good. And therefore, rejoice a little bit. Yes, nobody likes to see evil and tragedy and these things, and we stand up for it and we stand up against it. But something very terrible will happen to us when we begin to overindulge in this other urge versus celebrating the truth. In fact, for me, a lot of so-called extremism is kind of people that have forgotten. Matter of fact, the people that should be the first ones remembering have forgotten that nobody gets away with anything in this life. So try to make a little cheer where you are, even if it's by yourself. Celebrate the truth, right? And take joy and satisfaction from it. Some days that will be milk chocolate, some days it will be that Belgian stuff that, nobody really likes unless you add a lot of sugar to it. But take some time to enjoy the truth for what it is, because in the end, it's going to be good for you. It's healing. It truthfully is healing to remember that ultimately Allah is in control. Everybody will get what's coming to them, good and bad, and that the day of judgment is not going to be like one long episode of CSI or Law and Order, right? Nobody's going to get off on forensics or what. Trust me, everything, every minute thing is being recorded, which should then give people who, if they are believers, that should be the ultimate incentive to do everything you can, no matter how small it is. Go out and do it, because it's also going to be waiting there for you. And if you can't spend more time indulging in that versus the negativity, that's usually a sign that you need to seriously look at your own beliefs and ask yourself, what do you really hold to be true, and who do you think is in control of everything?